In today's tutorial, it's about decorating, and it's the bubble bath mat, and we're going to be doing this one next. Welcome back to the Crochet Crowd as well as yarnspirations.com. I'm your host Mikey. Today we're going to work on the bubble bath mat. I love this bath mat. It was actually a lot of fun to do. I learned a new stitch and it was called the bubble. It's called the bubble stitch, and it's actually kind of fun, and it wasn't as hard as I expected it to be, and of course that makes it fabulous. In today's project we're going to need the brand new yarn. It's called Bernat Maker Home Deck, and you are going to need a total of 2 balls with this. I've done a mini sample just to show you, and also for those that love diagrams, there is a diagram available. I'm going to teach you how to change the sizes if you wish to customize this to make this a different size if you prefer. So without further ado, let's dive into this pattern a little bit more. Let me show you my little example and then see if this is the right project for you. So here's my little mini example, and you'll notice that on one side that you will have these gap spaces on the outside. That's just part of the pattern. It's just because the bubbles actually cause that to happen, and that's part of the texture of this particular, and it does happen on both sides, so that's part of the neat thing about this particular idea. This will sit flat when it's laying down because it is a heavier yarn. It is 72% cotton and 28% nylon, and it should actually grip onto the floor, but of course always pay attention to that when you're stepping out of the shower, etc., when you're having wet feet. So today what we're going to do is that we're going to cover making this. You are going to need a 6.5mm size K crochet hook today. Just as a full disclaimer, I'm using a 6mm size crochet hook today, a size J, and the reason for it is that I don't have a comfort grip in size K and I prefer the comfort grip. So I've reduced down just a little bit. It's just for my own convenience, and you can do the same thing. The size mat that we're going to be working on, if you follow the pattern, it's chaining of 91. It will be 32 inches by 20 inches, and either way you can customize it, and I'm going to teach you how to do that in just a moment. I'm now looking back at the pattern. It said to chain 91 to start. If you want a different size, you have to keep it an odd number. So it can be 89, it can be 73, it can be anything as long as it's odd in order to keep the balance within today's project. So what we have here is a diagram, and so what you're gonna notice is that you'll see the bubbles. For example, you'll see 5 here. The next time you'll only see 4 in the middle. This here is the gapping spaces that I pointed out to you right on the sides. Just there, and so that's not a deal breaker for me, and then the next time it's 5 again, and then it's 4. So you want to end, and I put the here end on row 4 before the border, so you want to get it so that it's opposite to what this side is, so that you'll see that there's more bubbles on this side than this side, and you'll see if you follow the diagram all the way around, and then you just have to make sure that you have enough stitches in the side. If you put way too many stitches in the side here, what's gonna happen, it will buckle and start to ruffle on you, so you have to use your best judgment when you're going all the way around in order to keep it. So today I'm gonna show you a small example including doing the border, and I think you'll really like the bubble stitch. It's actually a lot of fun. So let's begin with the slip knot. I'm gonna leave an extra long string so I can hide it in afterward. And remember, if you're doing it exactly as per the pattern, it was chaining of 91, but if you'd like to substitute, you just make it an odd number. So in this case I'm gonna make it 11. That's an odd number. So I'm just gonna chain, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. So there is my odd number there, and let's move on. And what we have to do is that we have to add an additional actually no, we'll just keep it an odd number, and then we'll keep it just like this. So sorry about that. So an odd number it is. So now we're going to do the bubble. Now here we go. So we're gonna count back 1, 2, 3 and go to the 4th, turn that over and get the back loop of the chain, and I want you to bubble. So the very first time you're gonna see it's kind of fiddly at first. I can guarantee you this, that it's gonna be fiddly in the first probably 2 rows, but once you get enough material in your hand to hold this, it goes a lot smoother. It's just a matter of getting by that first 2 rows, I'm telling you. So I've just now turned it over, 4th chain from the hook, and we're gonna wrap the yarn and go into the 4th, okay, and pull through and keep that on your hook. Don't want to be too much tension. Wrap the yarn going into the same stitch, pull through and keep that on the hook. You're looking for a total of 7 of these loops here on the hook. Wrap the yarn and go one more time in and pull through, and now there's a total of 7. Do you see that? So now wrap the yarn and pull through all 7, and then chain 1, and you're ready for the next bubble. That's as hard as it gets. So you skip the next stitch and then bubble into the next. So let's do the next bubble. So wrap into the next one. So you skipped one, you went into the next one after that, pull through. So then wrap again, same one, pull through, wrap again, pull through and pull through. So now you have your 7 back on here, wrap and pull through all of these, all 7 loops, and then chain 1. So back down to the chain, skip 1, going into the next one, pull through. So it's a bubble. They're all bubbles. This whole thing is a bubble. So just keep on doing till you collect your 7. So just count to 3 really, and pull through, and then chain 1, and then skip the next one and bubble into the next. I've gotten used to holding it. I'm telling you, it wasn't this easy yesterday when I was doing it for the first time. It's just a matter you get used to the method. So pull through all 7, then chain 1, and you're now almost done. So you actually here, we've just bubbled, you got 1 stitch left, and you are simply just going to double crochet into the final stitch. Okay, so what's gonna happen on this particular one, you had your chaining of 3 here, that counts as a double crochet. You got your bubbles in the middle, and here's your double crochet on the other side if you want to have that to make sense. Let's move up to row number 2 and let's turn our work. Let's begin. So every other row the bubbles will then change their location. So this time there's 4 here bubbles that you see. Next time there will only be 3, and they're gonna be in between the existing bubbles below, and then the next time there'll be 4 once again. So row number 2 we're gonna chain 4. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. That counted as 1 double crochet and a chain 1, and your first bubble is in between the next 2 bubbles. Okay, so just go right in there, wrap it first, go right into the space in between them, and start bubbling up. So just keep wrapping that hook till you get your 7, and then pull through all 7 loops just like that. So now chain 1. So the next one is in between the next 2 bubbles. So just wrap in and keep doing that so you get your 7. And again, you can go pretty quick on this once you get the rhythm. Chain 1 and then bubble into the next, in between the next 2. Okay, and then pull through just like that. And now this time you got to chain 1, okay, and then you double crochet in this time because there's no more bubbles in between anymore because it's right into the end. So you're going to, at the top of the turning chain here, you're going to double crochet. So don't go into the space, just go right into the top of the turning chain. And that completed off row number 2. Let's turn our work and do row number 3. So row number 3, what's gonna happen is that we got 4 bubbles down here, then we went to 3. This time we're gonna have bubbles now on the outside of these 3 and in between. So to do row number 3 we're gonna immediately chain up 3, and then we're gonna bubble directly into the space right underneath it. That's actually a chain 1 there, just for argument's sake, and then pull, oops, I dropped my stitch. It does happen. Let me try that again. So we're just gonna bubble, sorry, just wrap it once, like so, and pull through, and then we're gonna chain 1. Now the next bubble will appear in between the 2 other bubbles just like that. Chain 1, and then next 2, in between the next 2 bubbles put another bubble. I can see this being very comfortable to walk on too. So now you got that, chain 1, and the next one is in the final space here on the other side of that other bubble. Right there, pull through, chain 1, and then you're going to double crochet. And did you see how I just moved that? I want to be in the top of, I want to be in the 3rd chain up. Remember how we chained 4? I want to be in the 3rd chain for a regular double crochet. So that was completing off row number 3. So let's continue and let's go on for row number 4. So let's turn our work and do row number 4. So this time there was 3 bubbles here, there's 4 here, so we're gonna go back to 3 again this time around. So this one here is just like row number 2, it's the same thing. So chaining a 4, okay, and then you're going to immediately just jump in between the first 2 bubbles. Okay, so this is the outside, so go right in between, and you want to bubble right into there just like that. Chain 1 and then go into a bubble in the middle. So this is all you need to do, is just you just have to continue to just look at the diagram and just do opposite to what is in below, and it's actually not a hard thing to do. So you're just bubbling in between the bubbles. And if you're ever confused, just look to the row below. So the row below had 4, the row below had 3, so this time I have to then stop. So I chain 1 first, and then I just double crochet to the outside here to finish that one off. Okay, so what's gonna happen then for the outside, for the border, you wanna finish off on row what appears to be row number 4. So the when we started we had 4 bubbles here. This time on this side there's only gonna be 3, and so you wanna be on the opposite side of the one that's on here. So if this for example was 10, this one's 9, you wanna make sure that on here it was finishing in the 9. So let's review on how to go all the way around this, and again you can go as big as you need to go, and it's really quite simple. So let's do the border. So the border, if you look at the diagram, we're gonna immediately just start chaining up 1. You notice how I never fastened off, I just started and this is the ending of it coming all the way around. So I want to start off and I want to turn my work and I want to go across the top. So basically every stitch gets a double crochet as I go across the top. The only questionable thing on this particular one is going all in the sides. So the next one is in a chain 1 space. The next one is on top of a bubble. The next one's in a chain 1 space. The next one's in top of a bubble. And the next one's in a chain 1 space. And then I'm on a corner. So on the corner I want to go right into an actual chain stitch itself, and I want to place in 5 double crochets in the same stitch. That'll cause it to start turning and doing the nice rounded edge for a corner. So that was 4 and 5. So now what I want to do is that I want to come down the side. Now I can either go into a gap space, but then that kind of makes that gap space even more open. So I want to go right into a chain, and I just want to equally space my double crochets going down. If you look at the diagram it kind of shows you where to put them as well, but I trust in myself enough to be able to do this. So I'm just spacing them out just roughly as I go down the side. And again I want to make sure I go into chain work and not to an actual physical gap, because it makes gaps really open up if you have that as an issue. There you go. And once I get all the way down to the base, to the bottom, I've got one more to do before I get there. So once I get all the way to the bottom, just pulling everything tight. So in the corner I'm just gonna place in my 5 double crochets. So 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. And now I'm at the bottom now, and so you'll see stitch work. So you can do the bubble for 1, chain 1 for another. So I go right into a space in that one, and then a bubble, and you just go all the way across, just equally spacing this out. So I'm eventually gonna get to the other corner. Okay, there's the last bubble, and now I want to go into a chain on the outside here, and I want to put in 5 double crochets then to turn the corner once again. There you go. And then I want to equally space up then going up the side, and again going into some chain work, not into spaces on the side. Again you can continue to look at that diagram on where they suggest putting it, but if you're experienced like me you probably couldn't get away with it and actually end up with probably the right counts on both sides in order to make this work. And if you're off by 1 stitch, if somebody's literally sitting there counting they don't have much else to do. So I wouldn't worry about it too much. You just like make it or fake it. So you're gonna come up all the way to the end, and this is where we came out where we did the chain 1, or say chain 3, that was one of the 5. So you want to come to where that one is originating out of, and you want to place 4 double crochets into that space, because the chaining of 3 counted as one of the 5. And then when you have that done, just slip stitch to the top of the beginning chain 3, and then just use a darning needle and just hide in your work. And this would be how you would do a bath mat, just like so. This is a small example. So let me just trim my yarn, and I can pull it through and just use a darning needle, and I can just start stretching things and making things work, and it's really quite an easy project to do. So this is how you do a bath mat. It's really quite interesting. It's a bubble bath mat, and this is another great free pattern available on yarnspirations.com. Until next time, have a great day, and we'll see you again real soon. Bye bye.